1981. This was the first time I visited Bolivia. I was backpacking throughout South America. I was 21. This was my time to be the hero and not to read about the hero. And I was driven to the remote and the unusual and the tribal, romanticizing about that. And one day a man in the markets of La Paz tells me about the uncharted Amazon. So with two other backpackers, the four of us leave civilization and penetrate the real uncharted Amazon. Of course, there's no map of the region, and we're trying to cut our way and follow rivers. And what initially was supposed to take 10 days takes a few weeks in a rainy season, which in retrospect was the worst in 10 years. Two weeks later, after the floods, I just was completely exhausted and I couldn't walk anymore because my feet would not carry me because they were just raw. There was no skin, just flesh exposed. And after weeks alone, I felt the lure of death. My rescue was a miracle, where Kevin, with his commitment to arrange a search party with villagers from far downriver, they came into the boat to help Tico negotiate the challenges of the river. Now we're talking 120 miles of river in the uncharted. By unbelievable coincidence, they stopped to turn the boat in the place where I collapsed the night before. They found me.
Ese estado de él, de su reacción cuando lo encontramos, ¿no? De decir, gracias, estoy salvado, me han salvado, estoy salvado, gracias, gracias. Eso era algo pues emocionante que se nos cayeron incluso hasta las lágrimas.
My life was spared and saved, but my story and connection to this part of the world just began, in fact. I wrote a book about my experience, and the book was translated to many languages, and backpackers from all over the world started visiting the Bolivian Amazon.
Muy viejo, ¿no?
Muy viejo. Este libro salió en 1985, ¿ya? O sea, 4 años después de lo sucedido, porque el rescate fue el 81.
The Joseph Ginsburg book is the biggest thing that makes all the Israeli come to South America, to the jungles, because it's crazy. Everybody wants to experience the life of the jungle and see and eat and smell and maybe have a little touch like in the book.
Al comienzo solamente venían israelitas, no venía otro turista. ¿Por qué? Por el libro, para ver si la historia era cierta y para ellos querían vivir esa aventura que vivió Yossi, ¿no? Y los llevaba yo a la selva. En aquella época yo también era muy joven, así que yo iba de guía, iba de cocinero, iba con ellos siempre. En aquella época solamente había un hotel. Ahorita tenemos 45 hoteles y todos son llenos.
I think it's very different when he wrote the book in the 80s. I think things are very different here now. Our guide speaks Hebrew better than I do.
I'm like Indiana Jones. Look at the alligator, Yeah, Indiana Jones and Tarzan. I love Tarzan as well. They're cool. They're cool. And Phantom.
I was walking along, the guy just gave it to me. So it looks kind of cool. He said it's tradition to wear one.
I heard from my friends in Ruanavaca, mainly Tico and his daughter Roxana and other visitors, that the entire village, you know, becoming a jungle town, part of its growth is based on the book and the story. It's an industry on its own. Dugout canoes go every day up the Tuichi River. Every guide knows the story, and usually every guide makes himself part of the story, saying that they were there themselves and they saved me, and embellishing and exaggerating and, you know, like in a very South American way, enjoying the art of storytelling.
We depart about 8:30, okay? 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Takes 3 hours to go to the Madidi National Park. The tour includes everything, okay? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, campsite, transportation, guide, everything.
You get a guy that carry all your baggage. It's not the same.
So it's hard to get off the beaten track, pretty much, at this stage.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can if you want to and if you have the time, but it's very also easy to stay on the gringo path, as they say, and you can enjoy it and it makes everything easy and fun also.
When I hear the word the Gringo Trail, I think of a dusty, unpaved road crisscrossing the entire planet with many detours on the way, but most of the same characters. It's the blue highway of the global village in some ways. It's the road parallel to the one in which people who need to get something done are moving, and it's the road for people who want to get lost and who don't necessarily want to get anywhere, but for whom all the joy is the journey and not the destination.
Backpacker travel is predicated on the idea that you're doing something different than the mainstream tourists, but a lot of their patterns are similar to what the mainstream tourists are doing. I don't want to be snarky about that, it's just how people end up, you know. People end up seeking out certain manifestations of home, and in a luxury hotel it's going to be a nice shrimp pasta dinner. On the backpacker trail it's going to be banana pancakes.
There's always a sense of wanting to keep certain things secret and private, and for me and my friends. and somehow there's that other side of me that says, well, I really, if the place is so great, I should probably include it in the book. But I know that it's going to change. The moment I put it in a guidebook, it's going to change and it's going to get overrun. It's a huge responsibility, especially in places like Bolivia, where tourism can really make it or break it in some ways. I feel that even more.
We go to inside the pampas now. Pampas have different types of snake: anacondas, cobras, green mambas, rattlesnake, different type.
Oh my word.
Oh, no.
Oh, shine a light.
Mira, ahora ya han encontrado un anaconda.
¿Ah, sí?
Los otros grupos, mira. Ahora no se mueve porque tal vez siente un poco de miedo porque hay muchas personas.
What did it feel like touching it?
Oh, it's quite smooth.
What made you want to touch it?
I don't know, just because I can.
Can I touch it? Can I touch it?
Touch. The repellent in your hand. The repellent is very toxic for the snake.
A veces viene un turista, yo quiero una foto y quiero tocar este animal, o quiero agarrarlo a este animal, porque yo pagué mucho dinero, entonces está muy mal, ¿no? Antes pasaba mucho esto, de que el guía quería dar una fruta para que el mono venga y se suba al cuerpo de las personas, pero ahora como ya hay más cursos y más conocimiento para los guías, esto no es simplemente del turista, tiene que poner las reglas también el guía. Tú le das alas para que pueda hacer muchas cosas, lo va a destruir. ¿Sí? No paran ellos.
It really boils down to educating all travelers. Whether that traveler is a wealthy individual on a luxury trip or whether they're just setting out for the first time as a college student with a backpack on. Remembering that proverbial cliche, we are guests in another culture.
Pero no con ideas de encontrarnos con turistas, sino que con busca del fruto de cactus. Es muy delicioso, muy riquísimo. Entonces, nosotros temporadas de abril, mayo, un poquito más, siempre veníamos a la cosecha. Nos traíamos unas cajas y nos llevamos así. Pero cuando después vimos que venía un grupo de turistas, ya dijimos de que no, el salar es un extraordinario atractivo turístico. Comenzamos a programar, si aquí tiene que avanzar el turismo. Bueno, yo como soy el primer habitante, salgo con muchos documentales en Europa, ¿no? Y inclusive en los libros de informaciones estoy ahí. Y cuando vienen a visitarme con el libro, dice dónde está el primer habitante, buscan. Y se sienten muy contentos porque de haber contactado con el primer loco de la isla o así.
En realidad los mochileros, la gente joven que es más aventurera y arriesgada, ellos son la gente que ha empezado viniendo y continúa llegando.
Desde el año 2002, que teníamos 40.000 turistas, 40.000 y un poco más, ha crecido la cantidad y se ha duplicado. Bueno, ¿qué se afecta? Los atractivos, los desiertos, por la infinidad de huellas que cada vehículo utiliza una diferente huella por cuidar el vehículo también, ¿no? Pero la velocidad excesiva hace de que ningún mantenimiento de caminos pueda durar lo suficiente como para que esté en condiciones por un buen tiempo. Entonces, eso hace de que muchos paisajes queden dañados por las huellas principalmente. Por la demasiada cantidad de vehículos en ciertas zonas, muchos animales han cambiado su comportamiento. Algunos de ellos sí se han acostumbrado a la presencia humana, pero a veces hay guías o choferes que espantan a los animales. Entonces se convierten en zonas donde ya no van a existir animales, ¿no? Abandonan su sitio donde generalmente vivían.
Una pequeña isla como esta es mucha carga, digamos, de los turistas. Lo mínimo debía ser unos 100 turistas, pero aquí llega sobre 300, 400 turistas y que... Va a tener que visitar otros lugares para que no exista mucha carga, digamos, de visita turística a la isla de Incahuasi.
What are the limits of acceptable change? Yes, there's an economic opportunity here. Plan it in such a way that the beauty of this area, the environment isn't destroyed, that there is an economic benefit that comes in, but not at the cost of destroying culture or the land around this particular area. What is our environmental footprint? What is our impact on the very cultures that we're visiting, the very things that really we're selling? At the end of the day, tourism is about selling nature and cultural heritage.
I remember more the getting there than the actual staying in Timbuktu. The trip there was so exciting because we got lost, because we got into troubles. We were in a flatland, so the water was just rising around us and we just got really scared. And we just couldn't wait to get there. We had this adrenaline. I think the whole group was full of adrenaline, finally getting to this Timbuktu.
I can't remember when I started hearing about Timbuktu as this faraway place, mysterious place, the end of the world. And it became immediately associated with the dream of traveling. And so when I became aware of the fact that actually I could go to Timbuktu, it was the place where I wanted to go. The references I had in terms of images were films like Out of Africa, Lawrence of Arabia.
We stayed the night in this village and we seemed like we were never going to get there. The time it took us to get to that village was, in my memory, is endless. And I just remember lying there and covering myself and looking up at the starry sky.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? It was so
This is a concert.
Oh yeah, the morning crash.
What really made me think about what I was doing there was the questions I was asked. I was asked
quite often by really diverse people. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And this was really difficult to answer. This is what really made me think about things here. And I remember looking at some land and saying to him, you know, this land is beautiful, look at that, and the color of this land. And this guy, he said to me, but what do you mean it's beautiful? This is not beautiful. Look, nothing grows there. This is so dry. This is like arid land. It can't feed us. It can't grow anything good. Why is it beautiful? And that made me feel so stupid. And it really hit me that I should be thinking about a lot more than I was.
All of us alive now, especially those of us in the privileged world, are sitting on this opportunity that was unimaginable to our grandparents. When my grandparents were growing up not very long ago, they would look wistfully on a map or through their newspaper at Bolivia or Africa or even Thailand and never dream of being able to see those countries or even meet people from those countries. And suddenly the world is open to us as it's never been to humanity before.
I couldn't really explain the myth around Timbuktu as a travel destination once I actually got there. It's a very beautiful place, but not that different from other cities in Mali. And it was empty and desolate and poor. I was there and I had nothing to do, I had nothing to bring. I couldn't help in any way. I didn't have a role, really. You know, we're just traveling. We quickly realized there wasn't that much to visit in town, so we thought, let's go to the desert. We went to the main market and kind of haggled our way to a camel trip, and we were very excited about that. We all got on our camels and took hours and hours to go through the desert under the sun, and camel traveling is not the most comfortable traveling ever.
La journée on reste parce que dans les déserts là il n'y a pas de la route, il n'y a pas les arbres, seulement les toits. They took us to this place in amongst the dunes, and it was amazing, and we slept there, and it was something out of a dream. We always dreamed of sleeping in the middle of the desert under the stars. And it was only like when it got really dark that we started seeing some lights in the background. I mean, far away on the horizon. Not even on the horizon, it was closer than that. So we started questioning the people who took us there what the lights were. They didn't understand, because they didn't understand what they didn't want to understand. Bien dormir hier soir? Oui. C'était bien passé? Il n'y a pas eu de scorpion?
The next morning, off we go back to Timbuktu, and that's the end of our trip. It took us about 5 minutes on the camel to go back to Timbuktu, and we realized we were basically at the back of the town, only there were like dunes in the middle between us and Timbuktu, and we couldn't see it. And that was quite funny.
We had camel camping.
As travelers, we seek authenticity so desperately that host communities will stage authenticity because it's economically advantageous for them. That for some reason, since modernity kicked in, that sort of dislocated middle-class people have to look to poor people for manifestations of what one thinks authenticity is supposed to be. And it's sort of a National Geographic cover shot.
Timbuktu as a destination is good value because you can always pull it out in conversation and have the attention that you wouldn't have with any other destination. You would say, oh, you just drop it there. I've been to Timbuktu. And you would get, oh my God. And, you know, the myth lives on.
You know, when I first set out to travel, there were two things that were on my mind. One was I had this fear that I had missed it already. You know, I had been reading all these books, Sir Richard Burton's Early Travelers, all these 18th century travelers, and I felt like, goodness gracious, I was born 100 years too late. And so the stories I carried back from me when I first started traveling were really focused around remote places, unspoiled places, places where people hadn't gone yet. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was trying to get to. I was 21 years old and I was backpacking for a couple of years, and I was getting tired of the herd mentality, the tendency of backpackers to stay on the same route and just keep following each other. So I just wanted to get away from it all, and I was hoping to find some place unspoiled. I'd heard about this island called Koh Samui in southern Thailand, which is this island in the middle of nowhere. This is back in 1979. And I got on the boat, and as Koh Samui came into view and we pulled up to the dock, and there was the backpackers on the boat, mind you, not that many, probably about 12 or 15 people. But on the dock, there were about 6 Thai guys there. Come stay at my bungalow, come stay at, you know, my place and eat at this restaurant. I'll take you to a good place to stay. And I was so disappointed. I was like, no, you know, I don't want this anymore. So I went to the captain of the boat and I said, where do you go next? And he nodded his head like that. And I looked up and I saw this island on the horizon. And I said, what's that? He said, Koh Phangan. And I said, I want to go to Koh Phangan. And he said to me, no tourist Koh Phangan, nothing for you. But you don't understand, I said to him. I want nothing. I'm looking for nothing. And all the backpackers got off. We sailed over to Koh Phangan. And I got off the boat, put on my backpack, and I started walking. And I walked by Thai fishermen and some small Thai huts. There were a couple of young girls, and they looked up and they screamed when they saw me and they ran. And I just kept walking, and I must have walked, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 hours until right around sunset, I got to this point. And it was the most spectacular beach that I had ever seen. I mean, like just dramatically beautiful, and I was stunned. And there was a Thai fisherman sitting on this beach, and he was cleaning the barnacles off of his little dugout. And suddenly he looked up and he looked at me, and he looked really startled, and he said in this perfect time warp 1960s English, "Whoa, man, like, where did you come from, dude?" His name was Samboon, and Samboon and his wife, Chom, had worked for the US military during the Vietnam War, so they hadn't spoken English since then. And they had 2 little children who lived on this incredible beach called Hat Rin. And they opened their doors, and I stayed with them for a month, and it was paradise. Not only was I the only traveler there, but no travelers were going there, period. They weren't there yet. There had been a German couple who I had met in northern Thailand months before, and we talked about rendezvousing in Koh Samui. And I told them about this beach, this incredible beach, you know, unspoiled, that nobody knew about, and that, you know, I would take them there. But I asked, like, whatever you do, don't tell people about this place, because what will happen is backpackers will end up going there.
I was a backpacker I didn't have very much money, and I was looking for some adventure, and I was, looking for something. I met a young man who was like, I just spent 3 months in Hadrin, and there was these amazing people there, this little community. It was a traveler's scene. That's where the backpackers were. I got a bungalow at Bobo's Bungalows. It was about 15 baht, which is about 50 cents. And very quickly realized there was this little community of a couple hundred people with no locks or doors on the bungalows and living very simply and very cheaply. You're with 100 or 150 people from all around the world. You maybe can't speak the same language, and yet we all knew each other. We were one. And wow, I was in paradise. And I knew it, and I knew we all knew it.
At that time more tourists were coming. Myself was buying frocks from Bali and selling dresses and jewellery.
But, this working lark does not suit me. It's up every afternoon at 4 o'clock, down to the market for 2 hours.
And
till 6 o'clock.
And drink beer and listen to boring music.
Oh, God, yeah, you have to drink beer.
The first parties was on the main beach, and it was just, I remember 40, 60 people just really meeting and joining and, dancing till sunrise.
Over time, certain hubs started to emerge, like a few others in India, Goa and Patangan, for the full moon, no moon, quarter moon, whatever festivals. Now we got 3 or 4 a month.
They put fire on the beach and have everybody around the fire and have dancing a little bit, huh?
Mr. Cow and Hadrin was very cooperative in the beginning because they were glad we were there. Nobody else wanted to be there, and they were making money.
In the early 1990s, I opened a magazine, and the back page was this photograph of Hadrin Beach, the beach that I had been at, with thousands and thousands of people. Just like unbelievable. It was staggering.
It's
getting fucking wild.
Millennium. I think that was the biggest kick-off of all. I mean, the place was absolutely ram-packed. There must have been 10,000, 12,000 people there that night.
It moved from drifter to backpacker. And presently it moves from backpacking to backpackaging.
Happy New Year, 2010, baby!
I don't think the Thais realised how popular it would become. Hadrin's changed in the fact that, like anywhere, if you don't have town planning to begin with, it can overtake.
Tourists like bucket, for the full moon. They like to go drink, take a bucket, and cheaper here.
We all come to party.
For the full moon party.
And experience the culture. Of buckets.
Yes, that's the only thing.
The bucket culture, I think. It's very important.
Maybe 2 or 3 bottles for the Samsung, and 1 dose of Red Bull, and big bottle for Coke mixed together. And many straw.
When I first came to Koh Phangan, I was having fun. I was part of this. I was excited. I was drunk. I had a great time, And after 3-4 days, it just, you start seeing more, and you start really seeing what's going on and really appreciating the sort of the complete lack of respect for any of this island and for the people. And it just, it started to, well, it changed my perspective on the whole partying scene.
In the case of Hat Rin, you know, there was no development plan. Tourism should have never been allowed to take place the way it did. It was anarchy. It was a free-for-all. There was nothing to guide it. Who was asking important questions like, well, where's all the plastic going to go? Where's the waste going to go? Where are people going to go to the bathroom? It's all just going to end up on the beach. It's all going to end up on the water. 30 years ago, people weren't asking these questions.
But we didn't have the facilities. It's just overtaken. There's not, you know. I would put it half towards the Thais not knowing what was going to happen, and half of it the foreigners who do come here.
I think there's loads of lessons, but I think it's very hard, like anything in the world, to look ahead and say what you could do to change it. It's easy to say after. It's so hard to say before.
Cannot make plan again. Maybe other place, huh? On Koh Phangan, huh? In Hat Rin cannot.
It's too late.
Too late.
The 1986 equivalent of Koh Phangan exists somewhere in the Philippines or Indonesia right now. And that scene transforms and burns itself out here and comes back up in another place.
Bhutan is trying to, slowly, slowly try to, develop. It's not really very fast and lost everything. So that's why very careful with our culture, our unique. So whatever we have is a unique to us and to everybody. If we preserve our culture, then we can share with the rest of the world. That's why we keep very high volume and low impact.
We looked at models around the world, and also we looked at next door Nepal and Thailand. There's mass tourism. We said, no, we don't want that. What's going to happen? There's going to be the development of bars, clubs, prostitution centers, massage parlors, and everything is going to be geared towards tourism, where people are going to lose their identity, their culture. People that have been backpackers in the past, when they were below 25 years of age, now they've matured, they've evolved, And they've been there, done that, seen the world, and they're looking for a different experience, so they choose to come to Bhutan.
We don't really allow just the backpackers here just coming independent or tourists or whatever. We get only multi-millionaire, retired professor, Hollywood, and those are really genuine interested who can afford. It doesn't matter whosoever comes in power. Bhutan policymaker, they will not allow you to contaminate the lake, and they will not allow you to cut the forest.
In the mid-70s, when our fourth king was coronated as the youngest head of state, people said, how can you increase your GDP? And he was a visionary. He said, no, I want to increase my people's GNH. And people said, what is GNH? Well, gross national happiness aims at striking a balance between the material, the emotional, and spiritual well-being of its people. So we follow the GNH way, which is a middle path. And it's based on 4 main pillars. One is sustainable development. The second point is preservation and promotion of the environment. The third point is preservation of your culture. Without your culture, you lose your identity. And last but not the least is the establishment of good governance.
And this is considered to be second Kailas. So the entire cliff is in the form of magic dagger, which has been used by Guru Padmasambhava to subdue the evil spirit.
Other places are different. They depend on the income of tourists. We don't have to depend on tourist income. So that's why we can preserve our culture less tourists. We can educate them how to be in Bhutan. We have to also respect our etiquette. We have to follow our etiquette. If you don't follow, if you find out, you won't be any more welcome here.
Today's travelers are just crisscrossing the world at greater volume and intensity than ever before, so that the map of our planet now looks like a Jackson Pollock canvas. It previously looked like a great open space. And I think more and more travelers nowadays are realizing that the first question they have to ask themselves is, would these people want us to visit them?
Los finales de los años 80, 90 fue la fuerza, digamos, de los turistas mochileros que llegaban a Rurrenabaque, atraído ya por la historia de Josie Ginsberg, que había sobrevivido en la selva. Si bien nosotros trabajamos como guías, como porteadores, nosotros no teníamos la posibilidad de ganar como guías. En esos periodos donde la mitad de la población abandonó la comunidad, donde quedamos con pocas familias, la mayoría de personas mayores acá en la comunidad, las cuales no querían abandonar la tierra. Entonces, teníamos que hacer algo y ahí nació esta idea. Un turismo manejado por los comunarios, pero con una visión de que la comunidad podía controlarlo.
We did know this place was, making a positive contribution. Well, had you read about it in the Lonely Planet? And then we knew that it'd been written about in National Geographic as well, so we sort of read...
People were talking about it.
Yeah.
But the guides really know their stuff as well. They're really good. They're amazing. Today, you're just incredible. You're walking along and they'll spot something with the naked eye.
Miles off that you haven't seen, and get your telescope and they're up there. Like we saw some howler monkeys today. Don't know how he saw them. Like they were there. There was like 7 or 8 of them in a tree.
And a green parrot in the trees, like over there.
Behind leaves. And he was like, look, there's a green parrot, yeah.
Xalalán es uno de los proyectos piloto que llamamos al comienzo en Sudamérica. Uno de los primeros empresas comunitarias en Bolivia.
Pero seguíamos buscando nosotros algo que sea un poco más diferente, algo de compartir y que nosotros le podamos explicar lo que significa para nosotros el bosque y lo que nosotros sentimos en realidad, de algo que para nuestros abuelos y para nuestros antepasados significó mucho, lo que es la naturaleza, ¿no?
In this forest, there are many things. Every day you can find different things. You can still walk the same trail, but always you can find new things. For example, in 2004 was found new type monkeys in this forest.
Este mono, este pécari es nuestro socio. Vender a este animal vivo, pero muchísimas veces. Nos puede dar mucho más plata mirándolo muchas veces que comiendo una sola vez.
El proyecto tenía un principio de mejorar las condiciones de vida de la comunidad y la conservación. Y justamente ahí sale la intención de Yossi de ayudarnos.
I had no clue about ecology or ecotourism or biodiversity or sustainable development. I didn't know anything about anything. I felt I'm there to say thank you and thank them for saving my life. But I learned. I educated myself on all these issues. I went to Washington, D.C., raised $1.5 million, brought it back to the region. I wasn't an NGO, I was just representing the people, and I got the money. So it was the bank, Inter-American Development Bank, financing a village in the middle of the Amazon. This was unprecedented.
Por fin, en un momento de eso, llegamos a Conservación Internacional en Bolivia. Entonces ellos se comprometieron y ellos ya lo han crecido para poder buscar un poco más el financiamiento.
Having the only tribe choosing ecology, choosing sustainable development, because there was the lure of the loggers and the lure of the oil exploration and the gold exploration. But when they went resort, they went ecological sustainable development, the entire area turned to be a national park, the Madidi National Park.
El turismo, cuando uno puede controlarlo, es una industria muy buena, ¿no? Pero si ya sale del control de uno mismo, es algo que ahí se ven las diferencias. En cuanto a los beneficios, como le comentaba al inicio, digamos, de lo que nos genera el turismo, es el mayor esfuerzo para tener, digamos, gente mayormente mucho más entrenada para el futuro.
I was very naive when I started traveling. I thought of myself as this sort of invisible traveler who has no impact on the place they visit. And so, in a way, my idea of traveling was a very selfish experience, totally selfish. It was just about me, going to these places and being affected, inspired, and meeting people. And that's something I had to reflect upon after my trip in Africa.
The stories that I bring back now are less about trying to show I've been to places that haven't changed. It's actually coming back with stories about what those places are today in all of their manifestations. It's over 30 years since I was at Koh Phangan, and there are Koh Phangans and hot rins all over the world that have suffered the same plight. But you know what? It's not too late. Maybe for some places it is, but it's not too late for other places.
I was once in a hotel in Peru with my girlfriend at the time, and there were a bunch of travelers, and they started telling the story about Yossi Ginsberg and the survival stories about Yossi Ginsberg. His story was, you know, like much bigger, and I fought jaguars with my fingernails, and we're just sitting there and listening and listening and listening. And finally, when they finished, I just pulled out my passport. And I gave the main storyteller, I gave him my passport. He opened my passport, he looked at it. Then he raised his eyes with total awe. Asked me, how did you get that?